Well, hello there, you beautiful souls. How's your day going? Welcome to the channel. Give this video a like, thumbs up, and subscribe if you're new. We're diving into my third breathwork experience. And this little breathwork journey is to show that you don't need to always have any types of psychedelics or plant medicines to have transcendent and honestly like really trippy and psychedelic experiences. We were born with the breath. It's our most powerful tool. And today we're going to get into when I met my future self. And this was, needless to say, a transcendent experience and was pretty wild. Now, my first journey was in March. My second was in April. And I really took a month off in May to just integrate. I had a lot of energy activations. I had some level ups from that in terms of my own practice of Qigong. And I knew I just needed to really just dial in my own beingness a little bit more. I was getting ready for a summer filled with events and facilitating medicine ceremonies. And I was really at a critical juncture. It was like about a week before I was actually going to be doing a medicine ceremony for two individuals. And then following that, it was going to be another big gathering. And then following that weekend, it was going to be another huge event. So I was starting to feel that these different activations that I was having from the previous breath works were unlocking different aspects of doubt within myself because everything was just so out of left field. And there had been so many, I would say, modes of healing and avenues of healing that I recognized got unlocked that it kind of got me a little curious of like, well, what's else there? I guess I'm not as established as I thought. That seed thought of doubt began to grow. And I was feeling a little helpless at times. I felt that everything that was just moving so fast, I didn't know if I was going to be able to handle it. So I knew I needed to change. And with how I would say activating breathwork was becoming, I decided to lean into an invitation by two practitioners who I heard amazing things about. And they had a different type of, I would say, practice that I enjoyed. It was a little bit more ceremonial than the previous ones. Now, it starts off with opening circle and cacao, and then it was essentially 3 rounds on, 3 rounds off, and then a closing circle, and then potluck. So I was already in it for the community aspect of it. And just the energy of giving yourself a time to rest and relax, because I found that the first two were so jarring for my nervous system because it was pretty much an hour straight that I needed quite a few days to integrate after, and I didn't really have that time on my hand because I need to get ready for so many events multiple weekends in a row. So we'll dive into the experience and their form of breath work. I just wrapped up my fast in that's pear cider, fresh pressed, no non-alcoholic. It's just juice. It's so good. So don't mind me, but had to wet the whistle. So this version of breathing was a little bit different. Now, again, when taught the breaths last week, it was more so from that, really in from that lower diaphragm, filling up the lungs from there, and then just like a slow, gentle release and allowing that pump to get into a nice natural flow. This was a little bit more like holotropic breathing. And I should clarify, I didn't have tetanus in the last ones. I had tetany. Got that corrected. So I appreciate y'all for keeping me accurate and consistent. Sometimes it's hard to read my own handwriting. But so with their holotropic breathing, essentially they went lower lung first breath, upper lung second breath, third was the exhale release, and everything was through the mouth, just really a nice little like triplet flow, getting into a good rhythm. And when I was in this space, things started to rapidly unfold. I felt the entirety of the meridian and energy system just get super, I would say, activated. And I was getting charged, like I felt the body in that first round just kind of getting ready for takeoff. Like everything was getting a little vibraty. I felt physically larger, which is always cool to experience. And although it was kind of like a tight space and there was a lot of people around, I started to instantly have that knowing that just like everything dropped away, and it was just me still connected with everything, but in this almost void-like space. So first round goes. Second round, I'm still just kind of like staying in this. I'm not going to the intensity of the really putting the foot on the pedal and pushing on the gas, but just going through it slowly, bringing myself back to that state where it's like I'm still feeling the vibration, I'm still feeling my energy, but it's not ramping up to the point of like, and go. But it's the second round where things start to get rather intense. I start getting quad box vision again. And those of you that are new to the channel, when I'm in these types of like altered states or spiritual states, or in the sense of just like really heightened awareness, I'll have my physical body experience. So it's like eyes closed, feeling the body breathing, feeling the energy within my body. And then I get this, almost matrixy like room where it's just all white. We call it like the spiritual space. And then across from that is essentially diagonal. I get the body of whatever I'm experiencing, and then I get glimpses and sounds from the one above it. So I start getting this one's really blacked out, so I don't see anything, but I start to just like hear kind of like muddled and murmured voices. And in the bottom, I start to just feel like a really deep despair. Um, if I could say the intentions that I had in terms of kind of resolving this helplessness, nail on the head with it, because it was just pure helplessness and sadness. A little bit of heartbreak, but not too much. But it was really just more so like helplessness, confusion, frustration, and a lot of fear. And directly across from that into the matrixy space, I see myself when I'm like 7 and 8. And this is a time when like my parents were fighting a lot and they got separated for a few years, and it was a really sticky situation. But my younger self was just sobbing like uncontrollably, and it got louder and louder and louder, and I just couldn't do anything. And I was just trying to console him and put an arm around the back, being like, hey, it's okay, man, getting on my knees, getting on the level, trying to see him. And he just kept looking away from me, covering his face and crying. And it was just like this emotional knowing of just wanting to be alone. And there still isn't going anything on in terms of like the visuals or anything coming through. It was just kind of all the experiential knowings of, oh yeah, like that's from this time. Okay, I got it. And then the helplessness on my end was starting to kick in because I couldn't stop him from crying. He was just weeping. He was just sobbing and just getting louder and hyperventilating. And it was just, those ugly cries where it's just snot and coughing and just gagging. And I'm just standing there in the white space, still, again, in the breathing, just really intense. Body's just doing its thing. And I just felt helpless. I felt all the inadequacy and just the different types of fears and doubts that I was experiencing, the kind of like, I would say, weeks leading up to this journey, that were all just brought to the surface in that moment. Like, I cannot do this, getting super overwhelmed, anxious, and then boom, second round ends. I keep my foot, take it off the pedal, essentially go back into the breath, and I'm still getting glimpses and experiencing the white space. So I'm just trying to really just calm myself down. Processing is, I would say, the most that was going on right now. It was just like, okay, so I'm getting all these things from childhood. I'm seeing the helplessness collect with this and parallel with this, and it's all coming up to speed now. It's like, so I'm not actually feeling things based in the current moment, but it's activating and anchoring in the past. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, third round starting again. So foot right back on the gas, holotropic breathing kicks in, and I'm back fully in the white space now. And just right back into cue of the kid crying. And it's, again, I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I just feel like I'm pulling my hair out, and I start asking for help, which is tough for me back then, I would say. Still a little bit is now, but it's one of those things where I would just start just looking around in the white space, just be like, can anybody help me? Like, I know I'm being watched right now. Can someone help me, please? And I look back at the kid, and my younger self is just still, he's now on the ground, just like weeping. And I feel this presence behind me. And it was so strong, and like the pressure was so intense, even though there was like, and there was a lightness to it, like a levity and a playfulness. And it's just this like kind of like taller than me right now, which is interesting, but really just kind of like built out light skinned person. And I see like curly silver hair, and I was in the white space. I'm just like, oh wow, look at this silver fox. Who's this guy? And the thing that was really interesting is at the moment that I essentially turned and was aligned with them, I felt just like the calming presence that really just dispelled all of the doubts, the anxiousness, the helplessness, the despair that I was starting to feel in that moment. And I walk up to the person, and they turn around, and it's an older version of myself. Like, same dot, everything. Like long hair, trimmed up beard. And he just stared at me. Little stern face, but like also a really gentle smile. And he just kind of did one of these and just like, bop, like right in my forehead. And in that moment, it was just like, you're asking for help from yourself. And then he put his hand on my right shoulder. It's kind of weird talking about this because, like, well, technically, I put my hand on my own right shoulder. So the silver fox elder self put his hand on my right shoulder, and he just said, "You are seeking help from what you already are. Nothing outside of you can help you. Step into what you are. You're becoming me, and in truth, you already are." And I like that moment, I just started getting like really emotional. And I would say the beautiful thing that came from that was just like the strength. It was like the most hyped up speech I've ever gotten, but it was just a really short sentence. And after that, he just kind of sat, took the hand off, and just looked at me. He was just watching. So take a breath, go back to my younger self. And I just kind of laid there with him and, got in crisscross applesauce and had him sit up and just kind of rubbed his back. And then he stopped crying. And then shortly after that, it was like, boom, round done. And that entire off round was really just processing. Because not only is it that factor of time, but it's like, okay, so I was seeking help from my future self. Future self picked up on it, came back to help, got words of encouragement, advice that I'm stepping into this. It's like, you are becoming the elder you're seeking. Okay. And after that, every way I have held space and done medicine containers and held ceremonies for people has been like insanely leveled up. There's been such a safety and protection, and I would say like trust that people have had in terms of participants that has opened up their experience even more deeper healing. Because anytime you have any type of experience, whether it be a medicine container or really just like a fun gathering, the safer you feel, the more vulnerable that you can be, the deeper the healing and the deeper the expression in which you can actually have. And when you don't have to worry about things kind of popping off or squirrely things going on, you just can be yourself. And I have a great track record at my events that there's been no nasty things going on. And if anyone has had a little bit of like too much excitement or anything like that, everything's been dialed in and contained. But I've never had any type of negative, like re-traumatizing event that's happened for anyone at one of my events, which is very unlikely considering, or I would say, which is very rare considering the themes and a lot of different things that are going on in them. And every ceremonial space and medicine space specifically, everyone's had a wildly nourishing nail on the head type of experience. And I really do give it to the silver fox. It's the elder self. And it was the first time that I'd actually encountered that I would say, like, if we want to call it like an archetype, I've seen my younger self before, which we could call like the children born of time. In a medicine wheel would be east and west, and the east would represent your youth, and the west would represent your elder self. And for myself in the present moment at the center of the wheel, to be able to actually like look across and see him and to experience him and to know him, it gave me so much more encouragement of what I am to become, and also the power. I think that's one thing that's really beautiful, because it wasn't like a power of a pressure of like an intimidating force in the sense of like fear or tepidness. It was just such an overwhelmingly like abundant love, and it kind of just got my gears turning. It was one of those activating experiences that was just like, okay, I'm meant for more. I can grow way more than I even could comprehend, and I'm excited for the next level up and unfoldment. So we go back to a few days, week later. It's like I have a really amazing medicine container, sets these people off on like a deeper part of their spiritual journey, and really is like a solid foundation where they could experience source. And right after that, it was another like ecstatic dance container where it was so nourishing and healing. So many connections and different relationships and friendships started and birthed from that. Some businesses birthed from that experience. And like the one after that was a huge monthly gathering that I've actually gotten some grant funding for, Community Through Unity, which was another one of those bring people together up with dance, music, food, and just community and connection. And that was a really nourishing time. And that whole summer was just, and ever since then, the ability to hold space in these types of containers just elevated from there. And I got to give credit again to the Silver Fox, who really activated some of that masculine protector energy, really keeping myself safe. And I think that was the deeper meaning of that experience itself was, you have to be able to protect and provide that safety for your own beingness across yourself throughout time. So to be able to actually hold the space where my younger self, and knowing my younger self of how I would say betrayed I was already at that age and didn't trust any adult, specifically, like really anyone, but really any adult, to trust that version of myself in that moment was kind of like that rite of passage that I had stepped over into a new threshold and entered into a new realm of just safety and care and compassion and strength. So it was really cool. And again, I say a lot of people have amazing experiences with breath work, and I always have to give my experiences of the awakening of the mind, the heart, and the gut. They're in the description for the quad box, for the body to just do its thing and to really be in an effortless and easeful state in breath work, that there's no forcing things. I know that a lot of folks could tend to have a little bit of performative aspects that come up in some of these like more spiritual containers or these healing containers, and there is never been any of that in my spiritual practices and experiences because of those three awakenings. It's allowed myself to not only establish, the rider and the horse relationship, but also to trust the horse to just do what it needs to do. Yeah. So I think the coolest aspect about this version of breath is that it is really potent if you apply it and you have more of like a quick pace with it. So as always, I want to kind of give some nuggets on the breath work tips and tricks. Now, with filling that lower lung, I find that having your hand, again, like palm on the belly button for this one really helps. And then having your hand on essentially like sternum, mid chest. So when you're breathing, you can really feel the lungs expand. And then as you exhale, just force both out. And it helps even if you want to just, apply a little bit of pressure in that lower diaphragm. So essentially, we can try some together real quick. It's that. And from there, things just kind of, boom, set you off. Now, as with all breath work happenings, you get to choose the pace. I would say don't let anyone ever force you into this one. Start slow, get a nice rhythm into it, and then let your body take you. I think that's the invitation that breathwork really provides is somatically, the body holds all of the trauma that you've been through. But if you give it permission to hey, like, I trust you. Breathe how you need to breathe to release whatever you need to release first. It'll take you there. And then just sit back and watch. I always like to look at it like you're kind of just watching a movie. And would you be sitting there chit-chatting and while the movie's going on, or are you just going to be nice and eating your popcorn all quiet and just watching the scene unfold? And that's a very big trick, I would say, in terms of just life. If you allow yourself to take a step back and just watch the cinema unfold, it gets a lot more beautiful. So if there are no questions, energy's still a little low. I'm all jazzed up because I got some fruit and sugars in me, but I might head out. So I just want to say again, thank you for dropping in with me. If you can, smash the like. The channel is growing. Please share. Please let people know about this. And another little call out. You got time on your hands, you got a computer at home, just throw that guided meditations playlist on, play all, and let it rock. Yeah, the intentions with the channel is to provide more opportunities for, I would say, just information sharing. Going to be doing a little bit more like how to, especially with the water fasting aspects, but also some own guided meditations that are a little bit more breathworky. So if you like those, let me know in the comments. And other than that, I love you so much. Thank you for dropping in. It means a lot. May the fruit of knowledge offer a seed. And in that seed may your love, will, and intuition give life and nourishment. For a tree shall grow, and in its shade may you find peace, and offer peace to all whom ask. Namaste. Oh yeah, and since we're so close to 500, I'm really close in terms of the watch time too of getting memberships. So if you'd like specific membership content, whether it be custom workouts, how to program a workout, be sure to tap into the shorts. I'm going to be doing some of those things in like next week and a few following weeks. But yeah, I'm just really expanding what I can provide for people for free. I'm at a good place in my business here in Seattle, but if you're looking to work remote with me, or if you are in the greater Seattle area and you would like a session, check out fsperformance.com. All right. I love you. Peace.